So, 30 years from now, and most of us will probably have careers and families, there's a chance it probably won't be on Long Island, because by then all the excess CO2 in the atmosphere from burning fossil fuels will have raised ocean levels. According to National Geographic, 6 degrees could change the world, enough to flood Fire Island, New York City, and most of Long Island. It does not have to be like this, because all of us are the future, as our high schools always said, and we can help stop our dependency on fossil fuels and implement green energy sources which don't release as much CO2. In my senior year, I took AP Environmental Science. It was a fairly new science class that talks a lot about green energy and green this and green that. So I'm going to inform you on 4 types of green energy and what's good about them and also what's bad about them. Everyone knows green is the new black, but ask yourselves, how much do you really know about green energy? Well, I've done some research also in addition to my class. I found this site called repp.org, which talks a lot about green energy and policies the government is taking on it. The first type of energy I want to talk about is solar. It's probably the most well known to most of you. You've probably all heard of solar cells and solar panels and all that. The technology has been around for a long time, which is probably why most of you know about it. And it's always constantly replenished unless it's cloudy out like it is today. There are no hazardous chemicals related with producing the energy, and basically works by collecting the energy from the sun and using it to produce electricity. Second kind is wind power. Wind power, there are also no hazardous chemicals involved, and wind farms have been used in Europe for centuries. They're coming around all over the US. Tons of wind farms are coming out, mostly in the Midwest. And there are actually talks about building a wind farm off of the coast of Jones Beach to power Long Island. A third kind of energy is geothermal, and this energy is derived from the heat of the earth, the inside core and the crust. It can be used to produce electricity and to heat homes and greenhouses. It is actually in use in different parts of the world. The country Iceland gets 25% of its energy sources from geothermal, and it also gets 75% from water and 0.1% from fossil fuels, which shows that it is possible to, not use fossil fuels all that much. The fourth kind I'm going to talk about is hydro. Hydro is used by utilizing dams being built along rivers. The largest dam in the world is almost built completely. It's called the Three Gorges Dam, and it's in China. It's 7,661 feet long, 331 feet high, and at the base it's 377 feet wide, so this thing is massive. The construction began in 1994. Most of us were probably little kids running around with our toys and such, but it only ended recently, as October of 2008. So almost a year ago, construction ended. It cost $39 billion to build this dam, but as of September of 2009, it had already covered 1/3 of its costs. So in a very short amount of time, it paid for 1/3 of itself. China is the leader in hydropower, which is shocking considering most people think of China right now as a dirty country with coal and lots of air pollution. These are like some of the basic ideas behind green energy, and I was going to talk about some of the positives now. With solar energy, it has a fairly high net energy, which means it's for every bit you take in, you get a good amount back in energy. And there's not a lot of loss. It lasts around 20 to 40 years, the technology, and it can be built on rooftops, and it can actually be built on shingles on the sides of walls, so it doesn't take up a lot of space. It's not like you have to have this great amount of space to use it. In wind, wind turbines can be built in any windy area, fields, out in the middle of the ocean, anything like that. and there's moderate to high efficiency with wind. And if you're building fields out west, the land below the turbines can be used for crop grazing or crop raising. I meant cattle grazing, not crop grazing. That's a little weird. With geothermal, there is very high efficiency, and you don't disturb a lot of land to use it. It's low land disturbance. And there are some CO2 emissions, but a lot less than fossil fuels. With water, there is moderate to high efficiency. The lake, or the river actually, backs up and creates a reservoir which can be used for boating and fishing and stuff, which is nice for places down like the Midwest that aren't near the ocean. They're landlocked, so it's a nice place for people to hang out. And it provides year-round water for irrigation for crops. Unfortunately, there are some bad things associated with all these energy sources, otherwise we'd be using them, hopefully. All these and all the goods I got from Tyler Miller's environmental science textbook, which is the textbook I used in my science class. With solar, there is low efficiency. It is very costly to put solar panels up, and there are often times where the cost, sometimes you'd be like, that's weird. My parents wanted to put solar panels up, but they'd have to cut down a tree to get the right amount of energy, so it's kind of like, you know. And as we can see today, it's not always sunny, so you need to build backup stations to hold power when the sun's not shining. With wind, it's very noisy, with the turbines always spinning, and wind turbines are fairly ugly, so you have visual pollution. I mean, I'm sure most of you wouldn't want to be sitting on Jones Beach and look out at these big towers with their blades spinning really fast, and it's kind of ugly. And this one's actually kind of funny. It interferes with bird migration. There have been lots of problems with birds not being able to migrate the way they have been for many years, and many birds actually get killed because they try and fly through the turbines, and I'm sure you can imagine what happens. So that's a big issue, because you also have endangered birds that might get hurt. With geothermal, like I said, there are CO2 emissions, so it's probably not one of the best ways. And there is moderate to high air pollution involved with using it, and it can also be something that is used rapidly and depleted. With hydro, as I said, $39 billion, that's a lot of money, so there's very high construction costs involved with it. And when you back up a river to build a dam, it floods the land behind and disrupts the natural landscape. So it might be important crops or plants or forests or animals that live there, and you pretty much just kill them all. And, you know, salmon can't migrate through the river, which is why nowadays the United States is actually destroying a lot of its old dams so the salmon can flow through again. And it also decreases the silt in the river, so the downstream doesn't get as fertilized. In fact, in China, when they built Three Gorges, there was a lot of controversy because the land behind that got flooded were ancient ruins from their Chinese ancient society. So a lot of people are like, you know, we just destroyed our part of our history, but that's the way it goes. But, so these are the basic ideas and the good things and the bad things of these four energy sources. And I know we all love fossil fuels right now because they're really cheap. Well, you wouldn't think so by looking at gas, but they are. And they're really easy to get to, but in a little while they won't be. Oil reserves are already running out a lot. And we have to start thinking about green energy if we want to keep living the lifestyle that we do. If we work towards green energy, and I hope I have informed you about some of the sources of that, then maybe what was predicted in National Geographic's 6 Degrees Could Change the World wouldn't have to come true, and we could still be living on Long Island and in New York City 30 years from now.